Okay, just a quick recap. We're going to go in and put text in on top of the rectangular box that we created last time. But just as a recap, what I want to do is to show you how to do that again. We're going to go in and we're going to choose title, and we'll choose new title. And that's going to open up a whole new dialog box. Whenever we choose default still, that will first of all allow us to give it a name. It will then show up, and this little thumbnail will show up right over in the same location where all of your video clips show up. We're going to go in and give it a name, and this we'll give it anything that you want that you can remember that it's essentially going to be your text box that you want to put in. So we'll name it text box and choose OK, and it's going to then automatically open up a new window that floats on top. We can now go in here and first add the rectangular box that we learned how to do in the most previous video. And to do that, we'll go over here to the rectangular tool, select it, and then we will just draw the white box that we need to be sure that we cover the bottom of the video. And as you notice, it doesn't have any opacity. You can't see the background. Let's go in and give it anywhere within a 40%, even up to a 50% opacity, meaning that the background will come through, but we can then put text on top and you'll be able to read the text. To do that, all we need to do is go up here to the opacity, and if you just click and drag to the left without clicking and activating the text, but over here on opacity, if you'll notice how it's moving, and you can just click and drag and pull to the left, and I'm going to pull it to around 50%. Anywhere in the 40s right up to 50, then allows the background to bleed through, and then you can lay the text over the top of that. If I click in there, I can actually just type in 50. If you want to do it that way, you can do it also. But if I click and start dragging, you'll notice the hand there. You can then click and just drag and just kind of drag to the left or to the right to increase or decrease the numbers. But we're going to go with this 50%. Now that we have that text box showing up right there, or actually that box with the opacity there, the rectangle, and it's covering the lower area, so that way we know we'll be able to put text in front of it. We want to go up here to the text tool. It's up here on the top left, and it says type tool. When we select it, we can then go in and draw a text box, and we're not going to go right up to the edge. We're going to start and use that outer boundary line there, and you need to be sure that you draw your text box large enough that you see more than one line. Do you notice whenever I drag down, all of a sudden now we see one line, and next we'll see another line in just a minute. But as long as we see at least one line where you've got kind of a row there, notice right now you don't see. If you were to try to type right now, you wouldn't see anything. You have to go ahead and make it at least one line. We'll make the font size smaller in a minute so it won't be so big. But right now we need to at least, now, if we let off here and start typing, and I'm just going to put name in here, then we can see that it will actually show us the text. We're going to change that text and make sure that it's black. So I've just gone in and selected the text, and the first thing we want to do is to change that font color to black, to something dark. And so we're just going to drag this. You'll notice this box here. These are the properties of the font, of the text, the title properties, as the box says right here. So we're going to go down and change the font color to black or something dark. And whenever we select that, we get this color picker here where we can go ahead and choose all kind of different colors. We're going to pull it up into the top right corner to the most extreme, which is going to give us a black color. And if you'll notice, it's 0, 0, 0 in red, green, and blue, meaning that there's no color in there at all, meaning that it's black. If we choose OK, we'll now notice that our color, if we go back over here to my name, to this area, that it's now black, and it'll now show up. At the same time, we want to go ahead and make this a smaller font size. If you're going to put in maybe a couple rows of text, maybe a couple sentences diagnosing your theory that you're going to put in on your video, then you need to go ahead and make it somewhere in the 30s as far as the font size. So we're going to scroll back up to get back up to the font and the font size. And once again, if you notice, you can just click and drag. If you can't get that to work, then just click in the box and just type in the number. There's nothing magical here. We're going to make it a size 30. That looks small, but honestly, when you see it on the bigger screen, it's going to look okay. If I want to, I can just click in there and type in. I'll type in 32 and hit enter. Now we can actually pull that text block down. We'll size this down a little bit here, and we'll pull this down where the text block will be down here lower. And now I can go in there and double click into the text, get my text tool over here once again, and actually go in and work on the text and edit the text. So if we double click in there, we can get it to where we can then start typing and put in more details in there. So you have to be careful. If you do use the text tool, then if you click, you're going to end up with another text box there. So you have to be careful with that, and that's what I did there. So I can go back in there and select, and be sure to select and get rid of the one text box. I'm going to move my little white layer there first, and maybe I'll type whatever I want first and then assemble everything. So I'm going to go in here, double click here, so that way I have typable text, and I can now type in there what I want. I can make this larger if I would like to, and where I can see it better. So if we go in here and make this like this, then we can go in and type, and if I put in spaces, you may notice, and so I'm just typing in a bunch of letters, you may notice sometimes, and mine is probably set up to where it won't do it. Mine will actually wrap to the next line. If you have a problem with your text when you type it extending and pushing the text box further open, look up under title, and there's a place right there that's called word wrap. Mine has now been changed to where it will automatically wrap to the second line. Yours, depending on if you've used this or not before, yours may actually need to be selected word wrap to force the text to go to the next line. Otherwise, it may push this text box wider and wider and wider. You don't want that to happen. You want to be sure that your text wraps right here. So if I go in here, we can now keep on typing, and the text will go down to the second line. You don't want to have more than 1 or 2 sentences at any time, because you want people to be able to read and before the text goes away. So now that we've got this completed, I'll go ahead and let's just assume that we've got the text there the way we want it. I'm going to pull my white box back here once again, and then I'm going to pull the text box, and we're going to pull it now to where it is down over the top, and it's within the boundaries like I showed you earlier. And there would be enough space there to have at least one more line for a sentence there if you need it. So now that we have that done, we've set it up the way that we want it. We can even close that up or kind of move it away. But notice down here, you now have like a thumbnail. I can now take that thumbnail and just drag it wherever I want in the video, over the top of the video clip, and let off. And now notice how it has put that in there for me. And if I need to edit that text information, I'll just go back and double click right here. And boom, I can now go in here and double click in there and get to the text box again and change that information. So you can go in there and change it. But notice now how you have that text box over the top of it. And if you want to lengthen the amount of time that it stays there, you can just pull it out like this. And that way you'll notice how it stays there longer. If you want to use that same text box again later and just edit the text on a PC, if you hold down Control and drag that text box, or on a Macintosh, hold down Option and drag. So I'm going to hold down Option and just drag it and let off here again. And you'll notice that I can actually move it, and there it is again. Now I can double click this one and go in and get my text tool and click right in there and keep editing. I can go in there and wipe out all the text I've typed in and type in fresh text or whatever I want. And once I'm done, I just close that up and that text is going to be changed right there, just like I just worked on it. So hopefully that all makes sense. If you ever need to add one in, once again, you can either duplicate like I did, where I held down Control and I just drug and that duplicated it, and we can drag it wherever we need it, or we can go down here and just drag it fresh up and put it on the timeline wherever we would like, and it will show up like that. So that's how you would actually add the text after you add that box, after you add the rectangle.